Hello, and welcome back to the Listing Queens podcast. And my special guest today is Afton Porter, and Afton is a stylist for luxury realtors. Afton, thanks so much for joining me.
Hello, Jan. Thanks for having me.
So excited. Listen, Afton, I Googled real estate stylist because I was going to host a woman realtor event and I wanted fashion involved, because I'm a fashion major and I know that you are. And you came up and I think you had just made a switch from being a coach of some kind to niching down into realtors. Can you tell us your background and tell us how you came to be in the niche that I love? And I want to call it out from the mountaintops that if you're a woman realtor, you need to work with Afton. So tell us about yourself.
Amazing. Okay, well, that's fun. I didn't even know that's how you found me.
Yeah.
So, as you said, I have a history of fashion merchandising degree, and I was also the lead stylist at Phoenix Fashion Week. I had a style coaching program, but it was the midlife style school. So if you search me, a lot of the midlife style school will come up because when I stepped back into fashion and, after working from having kids, I started my consultancy, and my heart was first for women in midlife because I feel like they were underrepresented in the fashion industry. But what I came to find out is I was attracting a lot of real estate agents, and I just loved working with them because they understood how important their personal brand was and is and how they're showing up. And so that's how I eventually just switched to working with real estate agents and those specifically who are wanting to step into the luxury market or who are already there, but know that they need to elevate their image to attract more of the luxury clients.
I love that. Now, I like how you said that you originally chose to step back into midlife style because they're underrepresented. And I will say that the reason that I wanted you, a stylist that knows her stuff, at the event that I held for women realtors was because I think women realtors are so cognizant of taking care of everybody else that they don't even know what investment dressing and the power of the way they present themselves. And I like to equate it to like a listing. When you're talking about luxury agents who have beautiful listings, before they go live, the agent needs to dress the listing, i.e. style or stage it, to be appealing to the qualified motivated buyer pool, right? So it could be 800,000, it could be 2.8, it could be 9 million. They are presented with magnificence. So I'm curious if you see and speak in your training, like to the importance of a listing being amazing in order to call in the qualified motivated buyers. Just like my presentation today of how I look and the way you look and the way these agents look and how that is super, super important. Can you talk more about that?
Oh, 100%. So just like you said, you're styling the home for the client to attract the buyer. You need to style yourself in a way to attract your clients that you're wanting, whether they're listings or buyers. You need to have the same style that is going to align with them, that they're going to want to be friends with you, that you're going to magnetize them to you in a way, in the right way. I think of your style is, we think of a particular outfit, but you could have the way that you decorate your house is a certain style, and it just translates into our clothing as well.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Let me ask you, why do you think, because I was shocked by something you said. You said that you were attracting realtors, real estate agents, and you said that the ones that come to you know and understand the need to be on point with the way they're presenting themselves and the way they're presenting their brand. But I have women realtors who don't really see that. And I need to really help them along with that. So why do you think some women do shy away from style slash incorporating the way that they're presenting themselves in with their business?
Oh, that is such a good question. And it might vary a little bit depending on who you're talking to. Some women, I think they just want to avoid the whole topic because they don't have a great relationship with their body, how they see themselves and their clothing, and they just want to like ignore it and pretend it's not important. So that's where I feel like that's what makes me different as a coach. When they do come in, I have the skill set to address that. But as a real estate agent coach, that's where you're able to tap into them to reach the ones that I'm not reaching yet. Because the ones that do find me do understand that they need help. They just don't know what steps to take. Whereas
Right.
there's a whole area of women who just want to ignore it and pretend it doesn't matter. And also, there's another one where it just feels superficial. They're going to like me for me. It doesn't matter what I wear.
Mm-hmm.
But as we know, as real estate agents, your image is your personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you're telling people what to think about you and what you stand for, regardless of what industry and how we show up. People have to make assumptions as quickly as possible to know, are they going to want to hire you? Do they want to even listen to what you have to say before they're shutting you down? Mentally and emotionally, they're just like walking off. And if we want to be able to make the impression that we want, we have to first do it visually so that we could do it verbally.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I have two really deep, not deep, but to me they're important. So I'm going to take the first one. I'm going to give you the first one rather, and that is, um, as we age, as women age, to your point, they don't even want to look at themselves in the mirror. So they'll blame it on superficiality when they were in their 20s. They wanted to look at themselves in the mirror, right? So I'm just curious, can you help them with makeup? Or, like, I want to understand the scope and depth and breadth of how you can help women realtors so that they really understand what they can get with you. Like makeup, is it clothing? Is it everything?
Yeah. So when real estate agents come to my world, I first start with color analysis because the colors that we wear either are going to help us enhance our natural beauty or it's going to take it away. Like,
Mm.
when you wear an outfit that we feel washed out, we just don't, we know we don't look that good in. But then a lot of times we're not wearing our best colors because we're not really sure what those are. But when we're wearing our best colors, it's actually going to make our skin look better, our eyes look brighter, just our overall natural beauty is going to be shining brighter in those. And so we always start there. And depending on what colors look best is also the makeup, right? What types of makeup, even like a little bit of like hair color recommendations might be involved there because that's part of the foundation of our personal style. So color, makeup, our silhouettes, the styles that most flatter our figure. And we all have those things that we all find a little bit challenging. I know, like, we look at other people and we think, oh my gosh, I wish I had her body, but she's doing the same thing. Like, we all like have her thing. And so just learning what that is and then how to elevate that style, like from head to toe, how you'd want to dress for your client, kind of coaching them and working through that. And then also styling for branding shoots. Like, what do you want to wear that's going to give that essence and that impression that you want to be intentionally giving other people through your style, and through how you're styling yourself in photos.
That's awesome. And I noticed now that I didn't put my light on, so my lighting isn't very good, but that's okay. We're going to keep going. I want the ladies to know that you help with makeup because you could be wearing the wrong lipstick. And even though it's in fashion, it's not going to present you the way that you otherwise could be because you know your stuff. So this is a question that I got after the event that you were with me at, which was Listing Queen Live. And someone said, you know, you and Afton have a very, I don't know the word she used. I almost thought it was very professional or corporate like look. And she's like, I'm more funky. Would Afton be able to help me? So I told her, absolutely yes, because just like an interior designer, you're not dressing people the way you want them to dress. You're dressing people to their personality, to their style. So I thought if you could just chat about that for a little bit.
Sure. The way that I style myself is going to be very unique to me. It's my coloring, my height, my size, my frame, like what's unique to me and what I prefer. What do I like to wear? How do I like to dress?
Mhm.
And it's so unique for each and every one of us. We're very unique women and we are creative in our own way. And even if you were to take, let's say, a model home,
Mhm.
and let's say you're going to put light wood floors in one home, dark wood floors in another, you might have a knotty pine in another. You're not going to style it the same way. You could still have a completely different looking home. You just need to know the building blocks of what you want to use for that, and then you can play around with that. There's so many different ways to do that. So,
I love it. I love it. When you say building blocks, this is what I just wrote down. It's so good. So you have an intake of some kind and you get their colors and then you understand what their values are, what their brand personality is, and then you will help them shop for that. What if someone says, a lot of ladies at all ages, I have 20-year-olds that say, I don't know my style. I have 50-year-olds that say they don't know their style. And you said building blocks. So I'm just curious to the people listening, what would facilitate them? What would help them kind of understand, how do I want to present myself?
yes, so we go through my style icon method where we learn our colors, our silhouettes, and we need to get into the idea of playing
Mm.
around in our closet with the clothes that we already have. Because I know a lot of us think we're going to solve the problem that if we had more money to spend a fortune on our clothes, then we would have great style, or we just want to go and buy specific outfits. So I actually like my clients to take a pause in their shopping and really start playing in their closet to decide, like figure out what do they like together? What is their style and how do they want to put it together? Some of it is decided for you, like your color analysis, your silhouettes, like your best hair color, your best makeup. You don't have to decide that. And I think once we narrow some of the things down, it actually is more freeing because we get a little overwhelmed with all the clutter and all the options. So once we just kind of tailor it back and start figuring out what is our favorite outfit and then building on from that to create a functioning wardrobe that feels more authentic. But I think the first step is being willing to play around and trusting yourself that what you have to pick out is going to be good enough.
Oh my gosh. Do you know, I just got off of my trust trifecta framework training. It was 2 hours. And because I'm convinced that in order to really move forward boldly in your own brand, because everybody has a brand, even if they haven't thought about it, you're presenting yourself in a way, right? And so I'm like, you've got to deepen your level of self-trust in order to come across safe and with authority and leadership, so that people are attracted to you. And so it's interesting that you say you have to be willing to play around, okay, which is like business entrepreneurship is like a science experiment. We try this and then we take and then we tweak it and we refine it. And that is so like a fashion editor, right? We edit, we scale down because, I was a fashion major and I had my asymmetrical haircut. I went over to England. I loved it. I wanted my asymmetrical. I had my pixie. I mean, I went through my different styles, but I always wanted to be edgy. And I did some modeling in my early 20s, and she always called me an ingenue, and she always had me in like goody goody clothes, right? Which is what I actually love. And I think I do look better in it. But I was in my whatever stage and I was trying to fit into something that really wasn't me. Um, but the way you say playing around, I think, ladies, hear me on this. Like, you have a stylist expert and a sales expert telling you that playing around is part of discovering your brand, right? It's part of discovering how you're going to show up in your market as iconic, as like, whoa, look at her. Like, I want a part of what she's doing. Now, you mentioned something that was style pictures, like brand photo shoots. Now, when we were together in person, one of the highlights for me was you're like, and I wish that I chose not to get it taped, okay? But because I wanted there to be, intimacy and whatnot. But you shared with us from stage some really great poses that felt so freaking natural. And it's like, yo, why don't we all know this? So I'm curious if that's part of your package, number one. And number two, could you just share one or two of those with our viewers and or those listening to the podcast?
Sure. Yes. To answer your first question, though, is that part of my package? I do help with the styling and then how to practice that. I think that the key part, I am not a photographer, obviously. So photographers, like having a good photographer is super helpful. But when clients go in and they've practiced poses and they feel comfortable, that translates on camera. So I like to prepare them and have them be comfortable. Plus, if they're just taking snapshots for their, content for their Instagram, wherever they're promoting, for their banners and everything, it might not be an official branding shoot. Super helpful to know. So one of the things when you are getting ready to do a photo shoot, just knowing that whatever is facing the camera is going to appear larger. So your shoulders, your hips. So, and I know that's something that a lot of, women are kind of concerned about. If you just take an assessment, if you just look at your body in a full length mirror and just think, where is my body balanced from top to bottom? Now, we are not judging our body. We're just being aware. Like, do you have wide shoulders and narrow hips? Do you have wider hips, narrow shoulders, or are you balanced? Because it's something to think about when you're standing in front of a camera, or do you have a larger chest? Do we need to kind of angle it so it just kind of smooth things out? Just an example of, I think this is relevant, but like my hair is really curly today. So my earrings, I have more sleek and streamlined earrings on today just to balance it out. That's an example of balancing out. So thinking like, where are my lines in my body? Where are the curves on my body? And how should I angle that to kind of create the illusion of more balance from a head to toe kind of a shot?
I love it. That reminds me of again, preparing a home for pictures, that we style it such that it maximizes that which is there. So okay, so you said relationship with body earlier. You said balance and angles and creating illusion. So are you saying that, and for those of you not on YouTube, come over and watch it on YouTube, but are you saying that it's better to be on the angle such as this rather than like this if you want to minimize something on the angle?
You want to minimize your shoulders, you want that to be on an angle. If you want to minimize your hips, you want that to be on an angle when it's facing the camera.
Okay. I love that. I love it.
You could even take it more like, even like your head, your forehead, your nose, like your nose. If you're going to like your photo better, if your nose looks a little smaller, you got to angle it.
Wow. Write it down, ladies. Angle it. Angle that sucker. I love it. Angle. When you are styling someone, you hear what they hate about themselves. And you're shaking your head yes. And I know that when you styled me for the show, for the Listing Queen Live, I told you what I hated about myself because I wanted you to be aware so that you could help me create an illusion. So you can do that. But then you said that it's about your relationship with your body. And I think that 20-year-old me, 20-year-old you, 20-year-old us is one way. And then like I knew how to dress her, right? I knew how to dress her. I knew how to dress 35-year-old me. Suddenly something happened. And when I was with you, I told you, I'm not really sure. Like I used to wear tight shirts and big baggy pants because that was the fashion. And I love it. Like I've been watching Mary Tyler Moore reruns. I'm digging her clothes. Oh my gosh. I told my husband, look at her, man. She had nice clothes. But I'm just curious, how do you recommend that someone understands their body and has a better relationship with their body? I just think that's really critical for women to understand. What would you say?
Yeah, so the style icon method that I use, that I've created, part of that is your image, how you see yourself, what you think you're capable of. And then another portion of that, so I want you to think of like three circles. So one circle is the image, the other circle is fashion education, learning what works for you and what doesn't and why, because that's where a lot of women get frustrated too, because they are trying to style themselves like they were in their 20s and 30s, and it gets a little bit trickier because what used to work doesn't work anymore sometimes, and then we still try to make it work, and then we get really frustrated and we think there's something wrong with us. And so when we learn what works and what doesn't, it kind of relieves a little bit of that. And it gives you a place to be creative in designing. So I believe you design your personal style. You don't find it. It's not out there anywhere for you to find. You get
Mhm.
to design what you want that to be. And that's the third circle. And where all of those circles intersect, in the middle is your icon factor, right there in the middle. When you have the healthy relationship, you have your fashion education, and you're designing your style. And honestly, I don't know if that ever really ends. I feel like as we grow as women, there's going to be changes. When we were children, we were forced to change the clothes that we were wearing because we outgrew it. And additionally, like you could see what a 5-year-old wears and what a 10-year-old wears and what a 15-year-old wears. It's very different because we grow as humans physically, emotionally, mentally, all that. And then that doesn't really change. Our bodies might not be growing up, but they're changing. Our bodies are changing and we are growing as women. And what
Yeah.
used to fit physically or even just mentally doesn't fit anymore. But sometimes we still try to make that go. But as we give ourselves trust and the
Yeah.
permission to explore and play around and not judge ourselves, then we're able to design it in a way that feels really authentic and beautiful.
Love it. Oh my gosh, that is so good. Ladies, you got to go back and listen to that. That is so good. We design our personal style. It is not something that we can find. Oh, I want to dress like her. Well, that might not be what works. And I would call that refining, or editing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's always ongoing. So as I mean, I could talk to you for hours. I want to ask you another question. When you're thinking about focusing on luxury, so you could help luxury buyers, luxury sellers, even the luxury investor, right? Who's doing upscale Airbnb and things like that. What have you found to be, or do you do any, because I'm reading this book on the affluent, marketing for the affluent and attracting them. What have you found? I'm just beginning it, so I'm just curious what you have found that the affluent client person is looking for.
I think the number one thing is that you show up like a style icon, that you are confident in who you are, and then they're going to believe that you are confident and you know what you're doing. So I don't know if there's a particular outfit
Hmm.
you know, that is going to attract. I think that if you know how to style yourself and you are styled in a way that's just a little bit more polished, because most people aren't.
Hmm.
So if you're just a little bit more polished, using a little bit more style, you're going to stand out among the rest.
Right. And when you say a little bit more polished, it makes me think of the words in the details,
Mm.
right? It's like you like it matters. Details matter, right? That is what matters. Um, so luxury is looking for you when you are, or you're appealing to a luxury client when you are showing up and demonstrating that you are in the details. You presented something that I forget what it's called, some of the halo effect.
Hmm.
And I think that resonated with so many of the women. And I would love you to share the halo effect
Yep,
uh, with everyone.
sure. So the what the halo effect is they believe that how you do one thing is how you're going to do everything. So if you show up styled in fashion, you don't have to be wearing all the latest trends, but you look stylish, you are aware of what is in style and what's current, they're going to believe that you can find the latest stylish homes. You know what they are. You're aware of what's current, and it's going to follow you with how you're presenting yourself into your work. You are detailed in your style, you're going to be detailed in your work.
It's so good. And they make assumptions. So you have a halo over your head, and that halo follows you because in their brain, they're making assumptions that if you do it this way with this, you're going to do that same way with that. So that's so good. One of the things that so many, and I think you did a live on this in your group last week, was shoes.
Oh,
Because
yes.
I have to say, I'm not a shoe lover or anything, but I have shoes 10 years ago, but they're clean because my standard is if they're dirty or if they have, if the toes that went like this, and if they're like if they look shoddy at all, they get ditched. Can you talk to us about shoes?
Well, sure. I feel like shoes are one of those things that get neglected. They get
Mhm.
forgotten about. Your shoes, okay, first of all, though, I do want to say that your feet are what take you places. And so you do need to make sure that you are wearing shoes that are comfortable and that are going to allow you to do your job without health
Mm.
problems. Like that's number one for me is like your health and making sure you're wearing shoes that are not killing you because that's not good either. But taking the time to make sure that your shoes look good. Yeah, the bottoms of the heels, the fronts of your toes. Like you need to make sure that those are in good condition and that they are appropriate for the outfit that you are wearing.
Yeah. And if they're not, I would suggest that they ditch them because then you'll be like in a hurry and you'll be like, well, they're good enough. And the good enough is not going to get you what you want because they're going to look at you and say, well, right? Would you agree?
Well, yeah, like so that's true. You need to replace them. I totally agree with that. Um, but if you're wearing a pair of shoes that you're like, I'm not sure about, that's when you're going to show up worried about that and you're not able to serve your client at the highest level because your brain space is going to be thinking about that. That doesn't go just for shoes. That's actually your whole everything you wear. When you
Yeah.
just throw something on, if you haven't done the preparation to be ready to go, including with your style, you're going to be worried about that. That's going to be in the back of your head. And you can't serve your people because you're thinking about yourself. And the point,
Exactly. So good.
yeah. And when you have taken the time to prepare, you don't have to think about yourself. You can show up confident as the style icon as you are and be able to serve and love on your people well.
That's so good. Now, you and I are both speakers in an upcoming summit. the Women in Real Estate Summit that is taking place next week. As we're recording this, it's February 17th. It actually starts February 24th. And my topic is how to have a magnetic brand so that you can rise to the top. And so I think that the ladies will be interested in listening to both of our talks because they are so in tandem with each other. I want to encourage anyone who is listening to this podcast or watching this on YouTube to look up Afton and follow her because she will help you reach that icon status in terms of presenting yourself. First impressions are so, so important. Tell us where they can find you, Afton.
They can find me at aftonporter.com. And when they go to the website, there's a button for book a free style audit. I'd love to offer your listeners an opportunity to do that. And I would love to meet with them. It's a 15-minute appointment, and we can go through where they're at with their style.
I love it. And Afton styled me for Listing Queen Live, which I think it was back in October. I'm not even sure. But I have to say it made a huge impression on me. And you and I are going to work together again very soon. Tell us what your title is or what your talk is about within the upcoming Women's Real Estate Summit.
It's the icon factor. The style makes the sale.
Ooh, the style makes the sale. Oh my gosh, because that has so many meanings because the style makes the sale for you and style makes the sale for your home. That is just amazing. Well, thank you so much, Afton, for being with us today. And I'm going to do more stuff with you. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's always a pleasure working with you. When I watch you, I'm just in awe. You're amazing. I love what you do.
Oh, thank you, Afton. Right back at you. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me.